Good morning, everyone, or afternoon or evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Kavitha Bindra. I'm the Assistant Dean and Executive Director for Education at the Yale School of Management. And I'm really thrilled to have this conversation today with two graduates from our Women on Boards program. And our goal today is really to give you a sense what our program is, what your experience might look like at Yale if you join us next summer. And I could tell you a whole bunch of things about the program and the logistics and admissions and all of that. And we do have some team members who are here as well on the call who could help address those things. But what we thought would be most useful is to have two of our really successful graduates of the program really walk you through their experience and talk to you a bit about their board search and where they are in the process. So I'll be asking them several questions, but we really hope that we can help address what you have on your mind. And so I'd like to ask that you either put your questions in the chat feature or using the Q&A feature. We will moderate those questions with the panelists. And then we will leave some time at the very end for you to ask questions directly. So with that, I will kick things off. And I will ask Kehli and then Yolanda to introduce yourselves and just give us a sense for where you are in your board search, whether you've been successful in your board search to date, and we can go from there. So Kehli, I'll start with you.
Kavitha, thank you so much for having me. It's a joy and a pleasure to join you today. My name is Kehli Woodruff. It's nice to be with you all today. I am very excited to have attended the Yale School of Management's Women on Boards program last summer, June of 2023. So to give you an idea of my background, I have my undergrad degree from Brown in business and policy. My first master's degree was in business policy, and my second master's degree was in communication, speech language pathology. So I have started, developed, and scaled up 8 businesses. And it's a joy for me to add value to boards of directors by connecting businesses and organizations to untapped markets, diverse constituents, and to widen the client pipeline for the next generation of consumers. And that adds value for shareholders and stakeholders. So I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Kehli. And Yolanda, would you like to introduce yourself and share your board experience to date?
Yolanda, can you unmute, please?
Now, can you hear me? Fantastic. Thank you, Kavitha, for that generous introduction. Good evening from the Netherlands, and that would be a good afternoon to you, and good morning to those that are calling from other regions. As Kavitha said, my name is Yolanda Cabrera-Sybesma, and it is an absolute honor for me to be here today to talk about my Yale Women on Boards experience and answer any questions you may have about the program. Let me also add that I'm a lifelong learner. I also did the Women in Leadership program, which was the catalyst for doing the Yale Women on Boards program. But before going into that, let me just allow me to share a little bit about me and what I do. I was born in Isabela, Puerto Rico, and I migrated to the US when I was 8 years old. I'm a very proud Latina American with Dutch citizenship, and I'm married to a Dutch man. We have 2 wonderful teenagers, an 18-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son. I'm the CEO of Syntel Pharma, a contract research organization based in the Netherlands, and we are a trusted provider of clinical research development and data-driven solutions for the pharmaceutical and biotech space. Now, with respect to boards, currently I serve on nonprofit and private sector boards. including the advisory board for Avara Pharmaceutical Services, a privately held CDMO or a contract drug manufacturing organization. I'm also on the board of directors for the Project Management Institute, or PMI. That's the world's largest project manager community, representing the Dutch chapter. And because of my passion for the arts, I'm grateful to be on the Doyle Carter Foundation Board of Trustees. I just want to add one thing, Kavitha, just for the audience out there, because we've talked about this before, that although the Yale Women's on Boards program does not guarantee placing you on a board seat, I strongly believe that if you have the tenacity and grit to pursue such an endeavor, this program will not only prepare you for what to expect in your search for a board, and also while you are probably on a board, but it will also enhance your chances of getting a board seat. I really enjoyed the energy and the accolade of Professor Jeff Sonnefeld. Having a global guru on leadership providing us with the tools to succeed. And our future board roles was very paramount, and it meant a great deal to me. I think that was a key selling point for me, I should say. I shouldn't say selling point, but it really, I was very proud of that. The program is very well structured, I have to say, and it guides you through what you would expect in a board, from reviewing financial statements, balance sheets, to reviewing governance and the impact that auditing has on boards. I'm pleased to say that having done this program, I'm currently interviewing for public corporate boards, and that's something that it's going rather well. It is a long process. And since we're on the topic of boards, I just want to add, going through this myself with the route of going into a public board that I'm looking for, it's instrumental that you enter the board search and you search for a board where you would add value. And I would say be cautious, especially if you have a fiduciary responsibility. My board leadership experience in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion space, data science, and leading partnerships, I think distinguishes me as a powerful advisor in this age where pharmaceutical companies are sort of DEI challenged, I would say. So the need to quickly adapt to the advances of AI in order to stay relevant is very important. So my passion lies in contributing to the success of companies navigating this evolving landscape. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much an introduction about me and a little bit about what I'm doing. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. And I just want to back up a little bit. Thank you both for addressing where you are now. But I'd like to hear a little bit about what prompted you to search for a board seat in the first place, and what motivated you thinking about joining a board, and what did you consider when you started embarking on your search? And Yolanda, maybe we'll start with you, and then Kehli, I'd love for you to jump in as well.
Sure. So for me, it was a strategic decision. It was driven by a combination of personal and professional factors. From a personal perspective, I would say that serving on a board offers a chance to expose you to diverse perspectives, challenges, and decision-making processes. While from a professional perspective, I decided becoming a board member because I know I could add value in the areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion, including also data science, governance, and having had experience in auditing committees. That resonated with me. So this served as sort of my why I wanted to serve, and becoming a board member is a platform for leadership at a much higher level. To answer your second question, I think that as a Latina woman, often my experience, whether I'm working on an M&A or there's a due diligence process, being the only female in the room can present itself with some challenges. Nevertheless, I'm deeply committed to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion on corporate boards. I think the growing recognition of the vital role of diversity how it plays in boardrooms resonates strongly with me. I see it not just as an opportunity, I would say, but as a responsibility to contribute to the creation of a more inclusive and diverse leadership teams. I think my unique perspective, shaped by both my heritage as a Latina and also my identity as a woman, I think that positions me to make a meaningful impact. So it's not a cause that extends beyond a mere acknowledgement of importance. I believe it's where I can truly add significant value to a public board.
Thank you, Kelly.
I would add to what Yolanda said. I think one of the great things about serving on boards of directors is that it's a 30,000-foot view opportunity to do consulting and advising. And I think at this point in my career, having had success as leadership positions, having had a world-class education, it's an opportunity to serve at a higher level, to be able to contribute. As a Black woman in particular, I stand on the shoulder of my ancestors who have gone before me, and it is an opportunity to serve on boards of directors as a Black woman, to add voices that may not be there otherwise, and to have had the pedigree and the opportunities that I have, I'm able to be in those spaces, to have those representations. There was one example that I'd like to share. When we were at Women on Boards, we were exposed to so many incredible leaders and women who had been on boards for decades. And one of the first women who we heard from described a situation where she was on a Fortune 500 public board, and it had been previously all men in the room. So they were describing one of their products that was feminine hygiene. So they had this very interesting and funny conversation about getting your cycle. And the woman shared a moment of saying, there was one man who said, you can reproduce for the world, and it's such a wonderful opportunity, and it's so great every month to have this opportunity. And she's looking at him like, have you ever experienced this? And so she shared with us this moment of, they all kind of all turned to her at one moment and said, what is it actually like? And so these are the kinds of opportunities that we have as women on boards to be able to truly value add in situations that allow companies and businesses to be better, to be able to reach the next generation of consumers, diverse constituencies, women, people of color. So as an African-American woman, I am passionate about bringing that perspective.
Thank you both so much. I think we're sharing that particular perspective, and I think that really speaks to why it's so important to diversify our boards. And really, what that principle is really the impetus behind why we created this program to begin. So thank you both for sharing that perspective. We have several questions in our Q&A. And I'm going to, a few of them are similar, so I'm going to just sort of paraphrase them. And really, I think there's a sort of category of questions. What are sort of the most impactful things that you gained from your time in the program? I think one question from Roberta Barbieri was around 2 or 3 things you might have learned about the job of being on a board. We have another question, similar question around the most impactful part of the program for you. So hoping that, both of you can address those. There's also a question around the US centricity versus global perspective offered by the program. So if either or both of you want to address that, those questions, that would be great.
I'm happy to jump in. I think Yale was so impactful for a few reasons. One, the quality of the educational leadership there is just outstanding. Yolanda mentioned Jeff Sonnefeld, who is a leader and a pioneer. He is just masterful in bringing together world leaders and movers and shakers from around the world, from CEOs and on down. He's just incredible. Another faculty member who was incredible, Grace Zandarsky, was just exceptional. And she is from the Yale School of Drama, and she taught us about really utilizing our voice to be able to not only have the content of information, but to have the delivery of the information, whether it be a value proposition, an elevator pitch, or in an interview setting, as well as public speaking. So that was outstanding. The educational leaders. The second point on Yale is the pioneers that I mentioned, having people who have been on boards, women who have served on boards for decades, having their authentic experience shared with us so that when we do get into those boardroom spaces, we know what to expect and we know how to conduct ourselves as possibly one or two even women or people of color in those spaces. Yale further provided coaching that was just exceptional for us, both during the program and after the program, from executive recruiters and coaches. And then the final thing I want to mention is our peers. We had an extraordinary network of 40 women who were with us, from the C-suite to 25% international students, all very accomplished, all very unique. And it was such a beautiful synergy to be with other women who are looking for the same opportunities and be able to motivate and captivate and inspire in the same spaces of boards of directors. So I think those are some of the things that I loved about Yale.
I can just add I think there was a similar question that could be combined. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kavitha. What type of skills do you think boards are seeking? Is that one of them? I'm not quite sure. Okay, so this is an important thing to know, I think, for the audience. A question that I often ask is, what is it that they look for? Well, nowadays there's obviously, in the US, it's very driven to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think there's a growing emphasis on diversity in boardrooms. Boards are actively seeking for individuals who understand the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and can actually contribute to creating an inclusive organizational culture. Of course, you need your own expertise, but I think it's also important to have some technology and digital literacy. Given the increased role of technology in business, boards are always looking for members with a strong technology and digital literacy. This includes actually, and we had a course on this, cybersecurity, digital transformation, and emerging technologies. I think, we just got out of a huge pandemic, and I see more and more businesses looking also at health and crisis preparedness. I have a public health background as well, so boards are always seeking for individuals who understand the implications of health risk and how you can contribute to the preparedness of that. And one big one, which we also had in one of the days of the program, was the ESG awareness. So the environmental, social, and governance. I'm not quite sure if there's any lawyers on the call, but or even environmental lawyers, or with social backgrounds as well, or governance. But boards are really keen on looking for members who understand and can contribute to sustainable and socially responsible business practices. And of course, trending with technology, and with AI really bombarding every business unit, if you will, and globally, I think having an innovative mindset is important. Boards also seek individuals who have an innovative and entrepreneurial mindset. So I think those are key elements when you're thinking about seeking what boards are looking for as well. I'm not quite sure what is the other question that there was. There were multiple.
Yolanda, I think you captured it. There was a question around sort of the US versus global centricity of the program, but I think you captured that. So thank you. Moving on, there's some questions around sort of your sort of thought process around coming into this particular program. And, one in particular was looking at other programs and why you decided to pursue the Yale program in particular. And before you address that, I will just say, I can't speak, specifically about other programs, but what I can say about the Yale program is that we're less focused on board placement. As Kelly, I think, mentioned early on, that's not a goal of the program for us to say, okay, by the end of the program or X amount of months after the program, we will find you a seat on a board. That's not the purpose of this program, and there are programs that do promise that or market themselves as being able to do that. We have sort of two, I would say, for our program. One is, really helping you navigate your search, give you deliverables like a board bio and a way to pitch yourself to recruiters and really help think through and craft your search for a board. We think that's the most productive approach and efficient approach, and we think yields the best success in terms of getting you the right fit for a board. So that's one prong. But the second prong is really, once you're on a board, how are you a successful board member? And, our curriculum is really focused on building you up as a strong member of the board. So I just wanted to note those two things. And then I'll pass it off to Kelly and Yolanda to talk a little bit about your own thought process around selecting a program.
Yeah. Go ahead, Yolanda.
Yeah, sure. So I can add just a couple things, and I'll pass it on to you, Kelly, after that. What considerations came into play when I was making my decision? So now, mind you, when I came into the program, I was already sitting on boards, but being European, if you will, my goal was how do I make that transition from Europe to the US, right? So I think even now, if I were not on a board, and when I do look at boards, there's key considerations, and 6 of them that I really look at. And for me, it's the time commitment. I needed to consider whether or not I can dedicate the time to fulfill my commitment and responsibilities effectively. I also look for the culture of the organization, including their leadership style and decision-making processes. I think it's important to look also at the legal and ethical aspects of the organization, ensuring that it operates with integrity and complies with relevant laws and regulations. For me, especially being in the pharma and biotech space, it's a very regulated industry and space. So it's important for me to make sure that if I'm going to go into a board, that it's something that a board that is actually working under the laws and regulations that they have to abide by. It's important to assess businesses and look at them from a risk assessment point of view. Look at their financial health, if there's any potential risk or governance structures there. I think communication is important. You want to go into a board where you know that there's transparency and an open, candid communication within the board. And of course, the strategic impact that you have to assess the potential impact that the organization would have. But I want to be able to influence decision-making. So especially to contribute to organization success and make a lasting impact. For me, those are the kind of decisions and the considerations that I make when making a decision to go onto a board. I don't know, Kelly, if you wanted to add something else to that.
Yeah, so I have since joined the board of Brown University, the board of directors, where I'm so excited to be aligned with my values. And that is one of the boards that I've joined. I'm also looking to add a few in my portfolio that I'm currently thought about in terms of the next board to join. I think the one thing that Yale really underscored so well was to make sure to join boards that align with your values. In addition to developing our own value proposition, there's a process of really learning and understanding and exploration of what it is that you bring to a board to be able to identify it and articulate it. So to articulate it in written form, to articulate it in verbal form as a communications professional myself is extremely important, and Yale did an excellent job at that. In addition, they provided a lot of practical insights about how to navigate your experience once you join a board of directors. And even in my experience on Brown University's board, I've used some of those techniques to advance my work there. And they've been extremely effective, and they've been extremely delightful to feel prepared and to be prepared in those spaces. So Yale is extraordinary for that reason. The final reason I would say I would underscore the opportunities that Yale provides in terms of the resources are just generally unmatched, whether it was the dinner kind of things that we had with personal chefs that we worked, we took a cooking class, the things that we did together, as well as the networks that Yale attracted from around the world, and our classmates, as well as the people who taught us. It really is an extraordinary program. And if you have an opportunity to participate, I'm sure that you will be very satisfied with your experience there.
Yeah. Can I just add something else that's very valid? I like the way you phrased that, Kelly, because it's so true. I mean, the collaboration that we had with such a diverse group of women was so wonderful. I wanted to add one more thing in terms of board preparation. You know, when I came into the program, I was looking for like the secret recipe. I came in my first day and I had this bright pink suit and I stood out like a sore thumb, if you remember. And I just remember thinking, okay, what is the secret recipe to get into a public board? And I felt like during the program already within the second day, I connected with one of the lecturers who then said to me, you know, I think there's a possibility for you to, for us to help you look for a board. And so I'm in that now, in that mix. And so I think the program sort of, for me, had the secret recipe. It's really helped me a great deal. It provides with a full overview of board search preparation. I think branding yourself, it's something that they help you with. You get a coach. That was phenomenal, a phenomenal experience to have an executive coach at the level. And I think what's really important for women that want to do or in search of a board position, I think that it's important to seek mentorship. It's important that if you're not already on a board, to consider an advisory board or a nonprofit board. But in view of that, just be cautious. I always say that there are many nonprofit boards, but you want to make sure that you go into a board where you actually gain knowledge and experience from a governance perspective, from an audit perspective. And when you look for a mentor, seek someone who actually has experience serving on boards. I think that's really important for women, because you don't want to be going into a board not having experience or proper coaching. I think that's really key.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to acknowledge we have a number of questions around profile of the cohorts that we've had. So, you know, international versus US based, et cetera. We'll get to that at the end. My colleague Joanne Legler will talk a bit about the admissions process, I think address some of the questions that have come through, but we'll also talk about the class profile. So just wanted to acknowledge that we're seeing these questions, and we will address them. But I think given what Kelly and Yolanda, what you both said to date, it might be helpful for me just to, in a very broad sense, talk about what exactly is in the program. So I think there are a few components that are worth drawing out. First, as Yolanda mentioned, you do get coaching support. So you do get 2 one-on-one executive coach sessions. And these are really meant to support you in building your what we call search deliverables. So your board bio helps you really create your elevator pitch for yourself, and you're sort of defining your value proposition for a board seat. But, you know, I think many of our cohort members have used these coaching sessions for a variety of purposes in thinking through their board search. So that's a really critical piece of the program. You also, you know, you do have the curricular component, which is 1 week on campus preceded by 1 virtual day of learning. And the curriculum is really, like I said, has those 2 prongs of supporting you in developing your board search, but also really educating you on how a board functions and how you can be the most effective member of a board. So really covers governance principles, looks at the main committees that are part of a board. So those would be audit, compensation, governance, and really digs into what those issues might be that affect those committees, and helps you think about, okay, how does my skill set match with those needs, those committees? You also think about other issues that board members have to be schooled on, including cybersecurity, ESG, other topics. And then, you know, I personally think the most important piece is really the peer-to-peer. What we're able to do in this program is bring together really amazing groups of women who are seeking board seats. I should actually note, even though this program is called Women on Boards, it's open to anyone who's women on boards. So we have had male participants in the past in the program. And you know, that peer learning, you know, coaching between participants, I think is a really critical part of the program. And finally, we do have past participants and folks who've been really successful in their board searches come and talk to the cohort members about their experiences, providing some guidance. And we also have a group of recruiters from executive search firms who are searching for folks to join boards. And they spend a significant amount of time with our program. So they do a sort of educational panel about what the search looks like, how to engage with recruiting firms. And then the final day really is spent on with these individuals from search firms going through and practicing your pitches to the firms. So that's I think a really broad overview of everything that's included in the program. And, you know, I know Kelly and Yolanda have touched on particular pieces that have been really helpful for them, but I did want to address all of that. And coming back to this sort of idea around the importance of the peer network and the cohort building. I mean, I know both of you have become really good friends from our time in the program together. And, you know, I've been really fortunate to get to know both of you as well. But I'd love to hear a little bit about just the fun part of the program while you were at Yale, and, you know, what that was like and how those relationships, you know, maybe personally affected you, but also how they've been helpful to you in your search. Yes. And I'll let you decide who wants to answer first.
Kelly can go first.
It was a wonderful experience. The profile of the other members were also extraordinary. We had about 25% in the C-suite, CEOs, CMOs of varying backgrounds. Then we had about 25% international students, and then others were just exceptional and extraordinary leaders, from presidents of universities to entrepreneurs to leaders in the pharmaceutical industry. And so it was an incredible group, a diverse group of women, and we were all like-minded. The great thing about it was that there was such a synergy. We had a lot of wonderful experiences together. Sometimes you can get into a room with a lot of leaders and have a competitive feeling. On the contrary, in this environment, there was a very collaborative feeling, and it was very synergistic. So we were able to learn from each other in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So we did organize things like dinners. Yale organized many dinners for us and programs, as I mentioned, the cooking class and other champagne and beautiful experiences while we were there. I can say of my cohort that we have kept in touch beautifully. We've promoted one another, because what happens in these situations is that because we realize that our board work and what we're looking for is so specific, that if there's another environment that we're in where we see that there's a request for a particular skill set and a woman on a board, then we promote one another. So we have done that quite a bit. We've had some of our cohorts members provide us with additional networking opportunities. For instance, the Wonder Women dinners that we've been to as a result of one of our cohort members who invited us. Additionally, I've been on podcasts that I've shared with cohort members, and we've kept in touch on our WhatsApp group. We've also had in-person different invitations. So it's been an enriching and wonderful experience. And it's really, it's been joyful and delightful along the way.
I could not agree more, Kehli. You said that so well. One part that I think we embarked on immediately, I think on the third day, was that in the cohort, we had some really brilliant Silicon Valley ladies, I would say, who were very tech savvy and had pretty high positions within Google and other companies. Wonderful ladies, and we were coming up with a Yale Women on Boards app. We drifted into, actually with the help of Yale, also have a LinkedIn area, where a page basically where we put our CVs or resumes. And actually, I believe, Kavitha, I'm not quite sure if that's looked at by executive recruiters as well. The other thing, and I'll let you, the other thing that is I found very intriguing and fascinating was having the opportunity of being on the CEO Yale Summit. I think that was an exceptional experience, meeting with the likes of some really wonderful and very well-known actors, I should say, and executives in different fields of technology, ChatGPT, and all these other industries, I should say. That was really wonderful. But again, going back to the LinkedIn, Kavitha, is that something that is now covered also with the executive recruiters?
Yeah, thanks, Yolanda. That was the perfect setup. We do have a LinkedIn page that is open to anyone who has completed the Women on Boards program, and that does include the recruiters that we've worked with in the past. And that's really sort of can serve as a networking tool or clearinghouse for board opportunities as well. So, Yolanda, if you get some hot tip about a board seat that may not be right for you, but you want to sort of publicize it to the board's past participant cohort, or if there's a current cohort, they'll see it as well. That's a way for that to sort of enhance that network.
And one of the things, I know you mentioned it briefly, but I think this is important for the audience that's listening, that one of the advantages, so, I get hundreds. I mean, I think 20, maybe 15 a day, recruiters reaching out to me on LinkedIn. And you just don't have time to look at everything, right? Some of them are okay. Some of them are just questionable, right? Because you get so much information and you have to sort of filter it. But one of the advantages that I found was paramount with the program was that you bring in the top 5 executive search firms. I should say 3, but I know from the top 5, the ones that you bring into the program, and they actually, it could be the CEO of one of the top 5 or the top 3 recruiting executive firms that actually place women on boards. And we have a mock session with them. And that experience in itself, I think, sort of helped a lot of women break the ice to sort of not be afraid to lean in. So I think that's something that is very, very worthy of the program, is the connection that we have. And I tell you, after doing the program, because I think I was among one of the first ones to actually get an interview with one of the firms via the connection from the CEO that interviewed me during the mock interview. So I think that in itself spoke volumes, because I don't remember ever submitting my resume and I was on top of their list. So what we later found out is that because of the program, they target, and so we become lifted on these firms in ranking, basically. And so they are, I feel like I'm being watched. and that's exactly what happens, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. There, you sort of get on the radar, once
Yeah.
Once you've sort of worked with these firms, their programs. So we are coming up on time. I do want to make sure that we can answer any questions around class profile and admissions. But I did want to offer, I know Kelly has offered to field any email questions that folks may have for her. Both Kelly and Yolanda are more than happy to connect on LinkedIn. And if you'd like to connect with them through LinkedIn and have questions, please feel free to reach out to them. I'm lucky enough to have also gone through the Women on Boards program. I'm happy to take off my exec ed hat and Yale hat and talk about my experience in the program as well. So you're more than welcome to connect with me. And I'll turn it over to my colleague, Joanne Legler, who I think many of you have already chatted with, but she just that we'll be sending all of this information out to all of you soon. But before I go and hand it off to Joanne, just a huge thank you to both Kelly and Yolanda for their time today, and for being open and sharing their experience with folks who are considering making this big investment in time and money. So really appreciate that. I feel proud that you're representing this program, and I'm really grateful to you both. So thank you.
Thank you, Kavitha. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely, delightful.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Yolanda. And big thanks to Kavitha for moderating our panel today. Being a member of WOB past participant community makes her the natural choice on our staff to help us run this webinar. And I also want to thank my colleague, Kristen Sorek-West, who's been on the back end setting this whole thing up. We got to give her credit for getting us all together here today, including getting Kelly and Yolanda here as participants on this Zoom. Not always an easy thing from a technology perspective. So thank you both for your patience. My name is Joanne Legler. I'm lucky enough to be, we'll call it what it is, Senior Director of Learning Partnerships. It's a bit of a mouthful, but basically the gist is I'm among a small group of staff members here who interact specifically with those who are looking to come to one of our programs, whether it's our Women's Leadership Program, Women on Boards, any of our other wonderful digital or in-person programs. Specifically related to WOB, I'll talk a little bit about the last couple of cohorts that we've had. Again, this program is still a bit young, and we're just so thrilled to see the momentum of people interested coming to our program. And just the fact that we have quite a few attendees here today is really encouraging, as well as others who couldn't make it. You will all get the recording to watch again later on your own time, share with your colleagues and friends, and then come back to us with any questions that you might have. So just sort of do admissions for the program, and admissions is probably a little more serious award than the actual process is. But it's my job to make sure that everybody who's seeking to be part of the program is sort of in the right place at the right time. You probably know whether you are or not. Occasionally somebody might wander in for whom there might be a better opportunity, and perhaps Women on Boards is a little bit more in their future than their current experience. But that's what we mean by application. Our goal really, as you've noticed, it's so important to have such a strong, wonderful, diverse cohort that we just want to make sure that folks are at the right level of leadership, experience, and desire, and unique opportunity to add value to the cohort before they come into something like Women on Boards. So therefore, the admissions process is fairly painless. We're going to ask you to go ahead and hop on our website, click that button that says apply now or something of that sort, and then answer 3 pretty short questions. Again, really, why are you interested in doing the program? What do you think you have to offer that's unique? And what does it mean to you to be board ready? Shouldn't take you too long. If you've been thoughtful, if you're here today, you've probably already been thinking about these things. Secondly, we will ask you to upload the most current version of your CV or your resume. We will get back to you within just a couple of days. Again, this isn't a long, drawn-out process, rather just making sure that folks are in the right place at the right time for this very special and unique program. So we will come back to you with an answer within a short period of time, and then the ball goes back to your court, and you'll need to decide after, sort of gaining that admission, if truly you can do it. And we mean that more from a time perspective and perhaps a financial perspective than anything else. It's fun to get excited, and then when the rubber hits the road, sometimes folks can start to doubt themselves. I hope you won't do that. I hope you are already thinking about clearing your calendar and making sure this is in your financial wheelhouse, but we would love to have you if it all works out for you and get you then prepared to be here, both physically on campus in June, but as Kavitha mentioned, for our first live online day with our faculty director in May. So do take a note of the dates now. Pencil those in if you think that this next coming year might be a possibility for you. More practically speaking, if you have any questions that were not answered here today, we are more than happy to help out. We will send out a follow-up email both to those who are here today and those who couldn't attend, again, with opportunity to connect on LinkedIn, to contact us and me specifically with questions about the process or the program, and anything else that might be on your mind. And again, we encourage you to refer others if you think this might be for them instead or as well. Again, our job is to bring in the most diverse, interesting cohort that we possibly can. Again, organically and naturally, it does sort of all fall into place. I saw some people asking about geography and citizenship. We don't ask specific information necessarily about citizenship, but we do know for even folks who are present here in the US, their upbringing, their background, their experience from a work perspective might mean that they actually have quite a bit of global experience to bring into the class and into the cohort. And so I think that you will notice that regardless of where folks live or claim citizenship, the global experience that they might have had is pretty robust and pretty inspiring, I would say. Somebody also asked about industries. The great thing is board service is not industry specific. We have, Kelly, I think, mentioned somebody who was a president of a really impressive institution of higher education. One of our coworkers here in Exec Ed at SOM did the program. Kavitha was on the program. Folks from healthcare, folks from that were lawyers, from the government. Again, this is not industry specific. And so we love to see a wide variety of industries that from a work perspective, people are representing, but that may not be where their board service interest lies, or it might be. Again, the opportunity to meet this diverse cohort is really cool. I did notice, Kelly and Yolanda, one of your classmates is a guest on the webinar here. I'm guessing she's here to help support you. So at least I noticed one familiar name. And just as you were talking about the network and the cohort, and I happened to notice her name, I'm like, she doesn't need to be here to learn more about the program. She's here for you. And I just about cried when I saw that because I just thought it was so sweet. So I think that's all I want to say. This is for everyone who has an interest in this type of work or service. I love the way that Kelly and Yolanda have described what it means to them. Yolanda and I, when she first was expressing interest in the program, we had a nice long Zoom call before she even applied. And she said, hey, I just want to learn more. Can we hop on a call and chat? And that's exactly what we did. And that's what we're here for. So I'm more than happy to do that with anybody. We are counting down the days to the winter break here at Yale. So if you're interested, let us know soon, or we'll see you in the new year instead. So again, the application deadline is early April, plenty of time, and lots of good, hopefully downtime for all of you coming up to think about this broadly, think about it with your families when you have them all trapped in a room together, and come to the conclusion that this is the time for you to invest in yourself and invest in your future. And hopefully we will see you here on campus in June. That's it for us. I think I have a couple of quick housekeeping notes just to wrap us up here. But again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to our panelists and to our wonderful moderator. And we're thrilled to do these webinars and get to know you a little bit better. I think, again, we're looking forward to May. It's going to come a lot faster than we think it is. So we're on our end putting the content together, securing our faculty. And we would love for you to attend our program. We hope we can be a valuable resource for you regardless, and that this information is helpful. But please do stay in touch. If there's any questions we can help you with, it is what we're here for. So with that, I think we are out of time, probably over time at this point. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. Thank you again to everybody who made the time to be here. And we'll look forward to seeing you either at another webinar in the future or perhaps here on campus in June. Kelly, Kavitha, Yolanda, thank you all again so very much.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.